right. Well, welcome to the live show. Whether you are watching it live or going to be watching one of the recordings of it, I just like that opening. I like that opening little bouncing thing there. So I want to give a little shout out to my friend Greg at GMPI. Listen, I do video stuff. I don't do it fast. I don't even do it as well as like my friend Chad does. But Gray is just, he's on another level. And he's fast, he's quality, and he just represents what the people there at GMPI do with their video, with their outreach, with their working with teams, what they call nomad teams of local people, training them how to do that. So, Greg, thanks. Thanks for making that little bumper to start what is now the second episode of this show. And I just am appreciative of all of you who have sent comments in. We're going to address some of those as we get started today. There are some issues, some updates, things like that happening. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to jump into some training quite a bit about how to use a pixel, both for Facebook, but also Google Analytics, how to install some code on your website so that you can see how well your ads are doing, but also you can just see what people are doing on your website itself. So we're going to dive right into that. And here's one of the things that I'm seeing is that there are some questions, there are some pop-ups that are showing up on my phone and my computer in the work that we're doing. This last week has been crazy. There's been several large accounts that have been shut down with no warning. We don't know what's going on. And then I reach out, the people who own those accounts have reached out, and praise God, so far, most of the ones that I'm directly associated with have been restored. I don't know what's going on, to be honest with you, at times. And so this just reinforces that what I'm sharing with you all about social media marketing is that social media is like a rental property. Okay, you don't own it. And so it's really important for you to be in really developing your website as well with your evangelistic outreach, whether you're a church or a mission org. And that's really who this show is for. We're for those churches who are trying to go to the next level with utilizing technology in their outreach and engaging the people who are part of their church, as well as Christian missionaries and organizations around the world who are trying to make Jesus famous by leveraging technology in a way that is 24/7 to get your content in front of the right people who the Holy Spirit is working within them. Now, we're just assuming that you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to put into this. And so our whole focus on this is for these small teams or organizations who are not just overflowing with money, or churches who are barely getting by. We understand that. And so my advice, the stuff that we'll be talking about, is always going to be with that in mind, that there's times where we're going to need to be spending some money. But even there, we'll talk about budget, we'll talk about cost on those as we look into how to leverage this different type of technology. So yes, things are changing. There's a lot of stuff going on out there. Probably the biggest one that's happening is this online battle between Mark Zuckerberg and Tim Cook, and the Apple versus Facebook. And it is a question of who and what are you going to believe, of whose privacy, of compliance, of so many issues that are going on out there. So this is one of the ones that I saw this week. This little thing right here. Verify your domain. So domain verification, this is within Facebook. It just helps you really show that you own. It's their attempts to prove that the people and the information that's going, I put my head behind the box, that people that looking at your website, that it's legitimate. So this is part of Facebook's effort to verify the identity of both the website, the information, as well as the people that are utilizing Facebook, which is also this one. So if you run some ads and then your ads are, they get started and then maybe they stop, and then it says, they disapproved or whatever, and you can appeal it. When you appeal that ad, you may need to go through this process, which is verifying that you are a real person. Now, I'm not scared to do that. Security is not 100%. It's not like a light switch. It's not like something that you can just say, okay, we're secure, we're not secure. That's not a reality, whether you are at a church or an individual. Now, the key there with security is you're trying to do things right so that you don't get your accounts shut down for breaking terms of service, and yet you're trying to protect the identity of people. I think that's true whether you're a Christian missionary or even as a church. You're not trying to put out people's personal information to the World Wide Web. But this information just allows them to see that this account that you're using, that you are who you say you are. So you may have seen that picture if you go through that process and you find that you need to verify your identity. Best course of action right now is follow the rules, follow the terms of service. You can set different levels for different people. And honestly, we started with the business account last week because that is the safest option to just protect your identity, protect your brand, protect those who are working for your org or church. And so you set up that business account, and it really provides an umbrella over the people then on the pages that are working. Now, I've received several emails and comments from people throughout the week. There's a couple of them here. One that I want to start with, which was just this question. Can you expand a little bit more on having a business manager account under an official org or an unregistered versus simply creating one with the name of an unregistered ministry? If the org is running ads for multiple ministries, I fear that if for whatever reason Facebook hits us, it may affect the whole business manager account of the org. What is your take on this? Well, that's a good question. All right. So there's a couple of them here I want to address, and I appreciate, first of all, sending in this question. All right. The idea of being something official is that when you set something up saying you are something, you are a nonprofit, or you are some sort of business or whatever it might be, whether that be Facebook or Google, then it's within their rights to just try to verify that. That is the world that we live in, where everyone is trying to figure out what is true, what things are not true. So that's not just a United States thing, that is around the world that these issues are coming up. There is political stuff that's going on all around the world. For example, I tried to run an ad just a few weeks ago in one country, in Myanmar, and then in the midst of that ad didn't get shown. They said it was a political ad. It wasn't a political ad. It was an ad about Jesus and prayer. But then you have a coup that happens there just a couple days ago. So, there's a lot of political upheaval, a lot of stuff that's going on. I understand your question about risk. When you set things up as a business account, then you can start to really see what's happening. It is going to take ownership and oversight to make sure things are done well. Now, I am ex-military. I was in the Navy. In the Navy, there's this idea of watertight doors. And the idea of that being, if a space floods, you shut those watertight doors and you can keep that damage to that area. So you might think that just having a bunch of different small ones that are all doing it on their own might be a better way of really decentralizing that. And there's some validity to that. The reason why I'm not sure that's going to continue to be a really viable option is because this is not the easiest thing in the world, and because it continues to change. And it is very possible for you, in spite of how easy Google and Facebook, TikTok, and others are trying to make it to run ads, it's possible that you can do something wrong and didn't even know it. Now, usually this is not going to be something where it's like you run one ad and all of a sudden then all of your accounts are shut down. I think part of the reason these things are happening right now is because of all the political pressure and all of just it being in the public spotlight right now of social media. And they're getting nailed from both sides. Are they biased? Are they not? Or do they lean one way or the other? Are they censoring or what? So they're just getting nailed, okay? And so I think that they're relying on these millions and millions of accounts. They're using algorithms in the beginning. to filter those. And so that's where knowing terms of service, knowing community standards will help you. I think, if possible, that having orgs or larger groups create these business accounts and then have people working with these different pages or running ads on behalf of these pages is a safer option. Now, with all of that being stated, it's still really important that you do things right on your pages, which means you are moderating comments. When people get on there and they're really angry and they're wanting to argue, for us and the people that I coach, I don't engage with that. I'm trying to find seekers. I'm not trying to debate people and argue. This is especially true when you're in other countries where people might be looking, where the governments are looking on how you react to stuff. For example, India, I think would be a good example of that. So to answer your question on this email, yes, there is some risk. We're trying to do things right so that we aren't put at risk. And that, I think, when you have dedicated people and you set things up right, there's less risk than just having a bunch of people who may know what they're doing or may not trying to do it. Now, I want to give you a picture even of that, of what that looks like here, because when you're on your own page, you can see how those pages are doing. All right, so you set up a page. Here's the one I have going right here. And over here on the left is an area that's called page quality. I'm going to click on that. And then page quality allows you to see what's happening on your page. Are there any restrictions? Have you had any violations? You can learn more about Facebook's community standards by clicking here. All right, and so if you have issues that are popping up, you're going to see it here, and you're going to see it under your page quality. So think of it like a strike, and you start getting a strike or two against your page, well then you need to be seeing what is going on at that point. So if you start seeing you're doing that, or if you get ads that are denied and you appeal them and they're still denied, I would really encourage you just to delete them. Just get them off the account and delete them from your ad manager. I'm not saying that's going to guarantee anything, but with algorithms looking at stuff, that's a practice that I tend to do. So I hope that helped answers your question. Here's another one that we received, kind of on the same thread. When Facebook permanently disables someone's business manager account, not just their ad account, how would you recommend going about continuing with their media efforts on Facebook? How much of the old identity, their page, their website, their credit card information can you reuse versus starting from scratch? Great question. I hate to start this show with so much of the what if this happens or whatever, but I appreciate the questions that you're asking. All right, and it is a possibility. If you do things wrong, definitely, this is a possibility. If you're using a fake identity, it's going to happen. At this point, going to happen. They will find out. Or if you had more than one account, like two pages where one is your first name, your middle name, the other one's your first name and your last name. All right, they're going to find those things out. But so what happens if let's say worst case scenario and you get shut down? And I know some teams that have had this happen. Your credit card you're not going to be able to reuse. They're going to know that. I really think you're not going to be able to run ads on behalf of that page. If you start and try to do that again, it's going to be shut down because they're going to flag that as trying to go around their systems. This is why creating some redundancy could be really important, okay? And so having separate credit card accounts, having separate pages potentially, because you can have more than one page so that you can drop back to. Maybe that's not tied to that. But the key there is, personally, when I've had a couple of teams who have brought me on, and they've actually already been at this point where they've been denied, I encourage them to, in essence, start from scratch. In fact, I might even say use even a different computer than what you've used before. Now, so much of this I don't know because they don't tell us the innards of the algorithms and what they're using for obvious reasons. They're trying to find terrorists. They're trying to weed out undue influences. But when we get caught up into that, I think it's better to start from scratch. And you can reuse content like on your website, other information like that. But personally, I would recommend that you almost start from scratch. So let's try to do things right and not get to that point. All right. And I'll try to, whether it's the podcast or this show in addition, try to help you do things to the best of my ability. And that's the truth of this show that makes me a little bit nervous, is that I don't have all the answers. I just don't. I read a ton. I'm talking to a lot of different people. I run a lot of ads. But truth is, there's just stuff that we don't know. And there are people that send me questions, and I have to just honestly say, I don't know. I don't know the answer. If you find something out, please tell me, and then I'll share that. The podcast has a very broad group of people that listen to it. This show, we don't know what's going to happen, but I felt like there was a need to try to at least be a voice and a face and a resource for people, and so that's what we're trying to do. Now, a couple more things real fast, and we're going to jump into some of this pixel training. You may be seeing with this iOS 14 update, seeing something like this, where this will pop up saying, do you allow Facebook to track your activities across other companies and their apps, their websites? All right, and they'll say Facebook can explain why. All right, and then you can click no or to allow that. Now, my thought is most people are going to say, no way, I don't want to do that. And so this is coming from Apple. What's interesting is that this is impacting algorithms and attribution. Attribution is how you attribute an action that somebody did based upon seeing an ad. And so Facebook has changed that from a 28-day, which means that they would see the ad, and anything a person might do on your website, if they first clicked on that ad, within that 28-day window, they would attribute it back to it. They've changed that to 7 days. They're changing so much in regards to these changes that it's going to impact people whether they are using Android or iOS. All right, and so the impact is going to be a bunch. And we're not going to talk about it too much today, but it's going to impact the Pixel and what's being recorded as well. It really is. I have been beating on this drum for over a year now, saying this is coming. This is coming. And the result of that's going to be that our ability to retarget is going to be impacted. The ability to say when a person's done one thing, we're going to do something, send them a different type of ad. Well, that's going to be impacted. I don't know how much. I do know this. Major companies who spend millions of dollars in ads are facing the same issue, and they're wanting to figure it out. So somebody will be able to figure this out so that people can keep their privacy, but more personalized ads might be able to be shown to them, and that we can find the right audience targeting to put the right ad in front of the right person. If we don't do that, if the benefit of targeted ads are to allow people to know, hey, for example, you're wanting to run an ad about a program at your church. Well, you want the ad to show up in your community or in the neighborhood where your church is located, not in some other state. That's part of targeting. Maybe you're running a preschool program. Well, then you want that ad to go to parents who have young kids, not to somebody who it has no bearing to them. You're wasting their time. You are wasting your money. That's where this becomes valuable. And so Facebook is bringing this about. Well, what's interesting is then this is just a screen grab from a model I saw where Facebook's trying to circumvent Apple's thing by throwing this up there in front of it. So before the Apple one would show up, Facebook's trying to bring this one up. And they're saying here, your data will be used to deliver personalized ads to you. This is going to be, it's interesting. All right, I don't know what's going to happen. I know as a marketer, I really hope that they can figure some of these things out. There are all sorts of opportunities and things that can be done when we're doing this, but I really value privacy as well. And so I hope that we can find a solution that works for everyone. Until then, things are going to be, they're going to be impacted for a little while. It doesn't mean that they're going away. Just our numbers will be less, and some of the reporting will be less. Okay, and so don't fret about it. If anything else, just keep running your ads. For those of you who've gone through some of our training, run them to your top level if you're concerned about making sure the most people see it. I found a lot of people don't even know what retargeting is, and then they're not doing it. I'll give you a quick example, and then we're going to jump into some training. My wife knows this, and I've done this a few times, but it gets to Valentine's Day, which is coming up, by the way. And I look to buy her some flowers. I go online, I find the flowers, exactly what I want to get. I get the card, I put my message in the card, I put my name to check out in, I put my credit card information in, and then I click the window and close it. I don't buy the product. Now, what I do then is wait, and usually within about 15 to 30 minutes or so, I get an email from that company, the florist, saying, hey, you missed something. So click here and you can get free shipping, or click here to get 10% off on that order, or whatever. That's retargeting. That's called cart abandonment, but it's a business principle, but we can do it as well. When a person downloads a Bible, you could send them an ad telling them how to read, or the top 10 stories in the Bible, or how to do a discovery Bible study themselves. So you give them the next logical step based upon their activity. Well, that's what retargeting does, and what makes that possible is what we're going to talk about today. So there's two different things that we're going to share with you. I'm going to talk to you about the Facebook Pixel and how to install that. That's what these screen grabs that I just showed you there. Some people are going to block it, all right? And I understand that, but it's still valuable to have it because of these different types of events and different types of recordings. Not everybody's going to block it. Secondly, Facebook can still see to that point, to a point, what's happening. And then we'll take a break from that, answer any questions that you're going to be putting in the comments or reactions. Secondly, then we're going to talk about Google Analytics and how to install that. We're not going to talk today about how to use them, but you've got to get those things installed before they start working and collecting data. All right, and so we're going to look at some pixel training for Facebook. And now this has changed, both the Facebook Pixel and Google Analytics. We have courses on our website. I'll show you what they look like here in just a little bit. But so I've tried to capture some of those changes that are happening, but some of them, because of this iOS 14, they're happening literally every day sometimes. So it's going to be awful close. I think you'll be fine. But let's jump into some of this training so that you can see how to install, first of all, the Facebook Pixel, so that you can see how effective your ads are when people click on them and go to your website. Here we go. All right, to get the Facebook Pixel installed on your website, as well as Google Analytics, we're going to need a little bit of code that we're going to get from each of those different platforms to put on your website so that it can start firing. Until it's installed, well, obviously none of that information is being recorded. So to get started, I'm going to assume that you already have the Facebook business account set up. So you're going to go to business.facebook.com, and then you're going to click on the menu. This menu is these 9 little dots that you see over here on the left. And in that area, you're going to click on Event Manager. Event Manager. Now when you do that, depending upon what you've already set up, you will either get a screen showing you some of the different pixels that maybe has been shared with your account, or if you're starting completely from scratch, you're going to connect a new data source. So we're going to be given this option here, and we're going to do this with your website. So you would click on Web, and then you would click on Get Started. You want to do the Facebook Pixel. Do not worry about this conversion API. So click on the Facebook Pixel and then hit Connect. Now at that point, you need to give it a name. And so this is not going to be visible. So this is for you. So make sure that you know. So this is going to be our test pixel that we have, and then you need to give it the website that you're going to put on it. Now you don't have to do that, but it doesn't hurt to go ahead and get that set up. Once you've done that, then hit Continue. Now at this point, it's going to say, all right, how do you want to install this? And there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. Let's look at those right now. If you use a partner integration, this is if you have a website that's built on WordPress or some other platform like that. And if you have let's say a WordPress site, then you click use a partner, and it's going to let you pick that one. Now you can notice here there's lots of other options. So if you're using Joomla or Drupal or maybe even Google Tag Manager, which is something that we really recommend, then you would just click on this to do it. But let's say you have a WordPress site. If you click on that, it's going to give you these options. So you want to click advanced matching, right? And so this is trying to figure out more information that the customers are willing to share. It wants to match that information up. So you would click that, and then you're going to hit continue. And then it's going to download the plugin. So you would click that green download button to download the WordPress plugin, and that's what's going to be uploaded. Then you would hit continue, and this is going to walk you through how to install it on your WordPress site. It's really simple. You go into your WordPress site, you upload, add that plugin, you install it, you activate it, and then you can check to make sure that it's working right. All of that is exactly step by step, and when you use this kind of help screen here, it's going to walk you through that process. But let's go back and let's decide that you want to do it manually. So we're going to close this, and we still need to get our information. So we're going to continue Pixel Setup, hit this again, and let's do the manually add the pixel code. So if you do that, it's going to say, okay, here's your code. You would hit this green button to copy the code, and then you need to install this on your website. This will go into the header part of your website. Okay, and so it's not hard to do. If you're using, say, Cause Machine, you would just go under the admin section and install it there. Or if you're using any kind of HTML website, you just want to put the code ahead of what this tag right here, which is ending the header tag. So then you would hit continue, and we want to turn on automatic advanced matching. This just helps us understand better what people are doing on our website. This is not telling us their name. This is not telling us any of that information. So their information is private, but it helps us match a person from Facebook when they've seen the ad to then what they're doing on your website. So we would turn that on, and we're going to put all of this. Now, we do not get this information. Facebook has it, and they're not going to give us that information. It's just trying to match that to what they already know. So then we would hit continue, and then we're all done. Now, the final thing I want you to see, and we're not going to dive into it today, but it gives you this event setup tool. And when you click on that, it will ask you to put in your website, and then any button you have on your website, you can match it so that it becomes a custom event. So for example, if you have a Bible download on your site and the button that they press to take them to the Google Play Store or to YouVersion, whatever you're using, then you can have that automatically fire back to Facebook and record that as an event when someone has downloaded a Bible. Now all of this is changing with new privacy laws and iOS 14, but we still have a lot of information that protects the consumer, but also helps us to know what is happening on our website. So once that's all installed, then how do you know if it's working right? Well, there is a tool if you use a Chrome browser that's called the Facebook Pixel Helper. And you download this, and that little plugin is this one right here. Now this is a Google site, and what do you know? They don't have a Facebook Pixel on their Google site. So it's showing that it's grayed out here. There is no information. But let's go to another site. We'll go to ESPN.com, and then we'll see if this fires here in a second. And there it is. So this button now is saying there is a pixel. Here is the ID of that pixel, and that a page view has fired, so that we know that this information, somebody has come to this website, and that is fed back to that Facebook business account, so they can tell what is happening, how many people are visiting. Now, in case you're wondering, nobody knows this Facebook Pixel ID number. So there's no way to figure out that this number is owned by whomever. So it's okay that that number is showing up there. So once you've installed it on your ministry, your evangelistic website, or your church website, go ahead and try this plugin and make sure it's working. The Events Manager itself will also give you that information, and you can see that then. You can test your events back in your business account. You can also just look to see what's happening. So if I go to my own Pixel right here, here's how many page views, here's people scheduling calls, and so all of these are specific types of information or events that get passed back because of the Pixel on my website. All right, I know there's a lot there to that, and there's a lot that I've skipped with it. For example, the event setup tool is fantastic. I love it. What it allows you to do then is to actually, once you have enough of those, to create an ad where the objective is that custom event. Maybe it's someone going to a Bible download page. Maybe it's somebody scheduling a call with you, or they've spent a certain amount of time on your website, or they've visited a certain amount of pages. And then Facebook says, great, I'm going to find other people who are most likely to do that custom event. It's really powerful. I know it's a little creepy, okay? I get that. That's the whole thing that's been going on with privacy. The key there is you and I will never know who those people are. Not until they private message you or send you a message, okay? It's just matching their activity up with their private Facebook account. And so all of that information is anonymized. It just allows Facebook to put the right ad in front of people who are most likely, because of their behavior, they've already shown that they're interested in it. So that's the Facebook side of it. Google Analytics is completely separate. Now, Facebook itself has analytics. I'm going to show it to you after this next little training segment. But I love Google Analytics. There's Google Analytics 3, and there's now a brand new version, Google Analytics 4, and I will show you those here at the end of this little training segment. This video, this little section here, is just going to show you how to put the code on your website so that Google Analytics can start collecting information about what's happening on your site. Wouldn't you like to know how many people is coming to your church site? What pages are they looking at? How long are they watching your church's live video or your mission site? How many people are actually reading the articles or downloading a Bible or sending you a private message? All of this is information that can be found. You can know from where are they coming. There's just so much information that is out there. It just lets you know what's happening on your website. So this is just a segment of training from our Google Analytics course that we have available for free on our Kavanaugh Media site. And this will just show you how to install the Google Analytics. Here we go.
As you're getting started here, one of the most important things that you can do is to install the Google Analytics tracking code. Without that, nothing else in the training is going to happen. So to get started, go down to the bottom left to the admin section and click on that button, and then you'll see this area that says tracking info. Click on that and then go to tracking code. At this point right here, this is your Google Analytics tracking ID. It will start with a UA. And then this code right here is your global site tag. So you can click on it, which will copy all of that code. Once you have that code, you're going to want to install that on every page on your website. It needs to go to the header part of that page. Now, if you're using Google Tag Manager, which I highly recommend, it is an easy way to install that using Google Tag Manager, plus other functionality. Once it's installed, you can click that button to see if there is any test traffic that is working, or just go to your site and it will show up and show you whether or not you have any real-time people on your site right now. Once this is installed, we can begin to really record the right information.
All right, so that's how when you go to analytics.google.com, you're going to get that account. Now, Google has brought out a brand new version of Google Analytics, and it's called we call it GA4. We abbreviate everything. I think maybe that's the military still in me. But one of the things, as you saw in that picture, was even just real time. This is one of the things personally for me, is that sometimes when we're running really massive ad campaigns in a ton of different countries, I'm a lover of screens. I've got multiple screens, and I would have multiple TVs up, and I'll just have Google Analytics on from each of these pages, and I can see in real time how many people are coming to our website. And we pray. We're praying for those people. We pray for that real-time information. So let me give you some examples. So a lot of this is going to be information. There's just a lot more to it. And we may dive back into some of these in this live show. But if you go to our website, CavanaughMedia.com, there are courses that are on there. You can see these live training recordings will go there. You can see this one, Google Tag Manager. We love that because it allows you to one time put a little bit of code in your website, and then you don't have to go and mess with it anymore. And it integrates, especially with Google Analytics, tremendously. This is I believe, one of our best courses on Google Analytics. It has changed. We're going to need to update it. But if you understand this one, you're going to know, even in the new ones, what's going on, as well as Google Ads, Facebook marketing. So we have a lot of those courses available. So I want to make sure that you recognize and know that those are there for free, okay? You can also, this is where you can go to see any past issues of our podcast. We're on episode 85 of that one. Unbelievable how God has been using that. So if you go to Facebook, once you have your events recorded, now all of a sudden you can begin to really see what is happening. This is Facebook's version of analytics, and I can just tell you, I don't use it. Okay, I just don't. I've not found it to be fast nor responsive, but you may find that you like it. All right, so this is just a demo of that. All of this information can be found just from your own page's insight page most of the time, or under events in your ad manager in your business account. This is the new Google Analytics, and this will show you what's happening. If you go real time, it's showing you how many people in real time, where are they coming from. It can show you what pages they go to, how long, how many of them come back to your site. It's just so much that's going on. And Google Analytics 4 automatically adds a lot of these events that we used to have to code ourselves or add into Google Tag Manager. So personally, right now, I have both Google Analytics 3 and Google Analytics 4 set up. And I'm just comparing that data because there's a few things that Google Analytics 4 doesn't have yet. But if you've never done it, you go to analytics.google.com, you're going to be introduced to this one. And so this is so good. How are you finding people? All right, what are the people, the demographics? What kind of tech are they using? Imagine if you found out that 90+% of the people are coming to your website are coming from a mobile phone. Well, that would impact how you design the site. You might not just put super long articles on there or really long videos if they're coming from Facebook. They may not want to do that. In certain countries, people pay for their data when they go off of Facebook. And so that you might want to leave some of that on there. This just helps you to know. Conversions are not people accepting Christ, though I wish it was that. But it is when they've done a certain thing. This is similar to that Facebook, to those events when they have done something on the site. So if you're in that, if you're going to sign up, you would just come over and then it would look to see what you have. So you would go to the admin section, okay, which is at the bottom left of your screen. It's blocked by my picture right here, but bottom left, it looks like a little gear. And then you would click on Setup Assistant. And then it's going to walk you through, very similar to what the new Facebook Pixel. You get to choose, is it a website or an app? and you would just walk through. It is not that difficult. You're not going to break anything. And so I hope that you will try this out and get this installed on your website. It, to me, is really important to be able to know just what's happening. What is happening when people are coming to your website? What pages are they going to? Are there certain ones that they're leaving from? And if there is, maybe there's a problem. Maybe there's something going on there. All right? So, a lot today. The show's gone longer than what I would hope, but I want to address the questions you have. If things show up in comments, I want to address those. I also want to give you the tools so that you can get started. So before you start running ads, it's important that you get the pixels installed and that you have analytics installed so that you can see what's happening, the effectiveness of those ads. All right, so next week, Lord willing, we're going to begin to look about how to create your very first Facebook ad. All right, and how to go through that. And so if you have questions about that, if you have any questions, feel free to just reach out. You can go to our site through the contact form. You can go to our Kavanaugh Media Facebook page. Just reach out to us. If we can help, we want to do that. We are honored to partner with you, GMPI, and others to just advance the kingdom. So until next time, keep pressing, all right? Keep experimenting, keep pressing buttons, keep praying, and let's hope that the Lord blesses our efforts to make his son famous. So, thanks so much for watching this show. If you would, share this with others. Tell other people about this show, and then I hope that it will grow in its influence and impact for the Lord. So, take care. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.